Hi folks, Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about living in the simulation, living in the matrix. Are we all going to be living in a simulated world in the future? Is it already here? What form might the simulated world take, and how would humans exist and interact sort of within it? So just looking at that, there's quite a broad topic, and I'll just cover a small part of what's a huge subject. But are we already there? For example, I'm looking at I've gone through a number of websites today, and the top stories are clearly not top stories. They're not the ones, they're being artificially pushed in order to push the globalist narrative. And issues of real substance are being suppressed, and we're being told what to talk about and what we can see and what we're allowed to believe is important. So that's already happened. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a business website or it's I don't know, Facebook or whatever. We're being told, the mainstream media, any form of media, any form of information delivery, with a couple of exceptions, and we're being told what's the top story and what's the big issue. So on this, I'm just going to a business website now. The top story is a company announcing, that they've hired their 100th black lesbian. You mean that's the top rating story? That's the one. And the next story is how women are oppressed. That's the second story. I mean, that's clearly not the case. Now, to bolster this falsehood, the website's claiming, well, there's 150,000 views in the first hour, and there's all this. Now, I don't know whether that's true. We've got no way of verifying that. I can't verify that. Is there any independent means of verification? Because the information pushers and providers, the propaganda narrative pushers, they're all unto themselves. There's no independent. Well, hold on a minute. Did that get 150,000 views? With 150,000 views just generated by bots? So exactly what process of verification is there by an independent third party? And there isn't any. Now they say, well, the computer doesn't lie. That's bullshit. So the AI software is being set up. So if you ask about, if you say white lives matter, then the AI software will come back and say, hey, you're a Nazi. If you say Black Lives Matter, then you're fighting for justice. So clearly the bias is built in. So we're being told what to believe, what to see, what we can talk about, and so on. Now, if I look at, I go to a major, one of the bigger news, media outlets in the world, and I look at their website as to what the top stories are, then it's obviously it's been carefully curated. Those aren't the top stories, and there are far bigger stories out there and bigger issues out there and if they do touch a subject that's big and that a lot of people are interested in, they attempt again to curate the emphasis in the story to turn it into a piece of propaganda consistent with the globalist narrative rather than to inform people. And we see this in schools. The only people that got into slavery were white people who were uniquely evil, and black people were uniquely victims. This sort of, the thousands of years of slavery outside of that, who cares? It's if it's mentioned at all, only in passing. So if we look at any and all information, we see history books being rewritten, any movies, white characters being taken out, black characters inserted, all this sort of stuff. That is, of course, a simulation. We're being presented with an artificial reality, and to me, that's sort of simulation. And you see creeping into business more and more. Where I have a share in a business, and there's we've got this outfit that looks after all our like website stuff and so on, and say just to go around them, say we get 100 hits on the website a month and 10 inquiries. I'm just rounding to make it easy. Now they came a few months back. This is the website guys, and said, look, we can we can increase your website traffic by 20%. So, okay, how much might it cost? Such and such. All right, then now we sort of sat down and said, okay, if we get, for example, if we already get 100 and then we get 20 and we get 10 inquiries, we should get 2 inquiries with an extra 20 hits. So, on balance of probability. So, all right, then so the website came back and said, okay, you got 125 hits. Now that's their numbers and it's their mathematics, their arithmetic, their methods of measurement. We've got no way of verifying that, but we had to pay them more money, and it wasn't a vast sum, so it wasn't like that was the issue. But we noticed after a few months that we weren't getting any more inquiries from that source than we had previously. So we were supposedly getting 125, 130 hits, as in 25, 30% more. And they were wanting more money. And well, this month you got 30% more. So, we want a performance bonus again, which is part of the contract. So, we signed it. Okay, well, fine. So I asked, I queried, I said, look, guys, we're paying you 25, 30% more to get these hits, but we're not getting any. In fact, the inquiry, instead of getting 10 inquiries last month, we actually got 9. So it's actually not only is it not going ahead, I mean, that particular month it went down. So why are we paying you? What are we paying you for? Now they got quite defensive and so, well, you're paying us because you're getting more hits. You're not paying us, what do you want us to do? Go and get the money for you and put it in your hand? No, don't give me that fucking crap. We're getting 25, 30% more hits, so you claim. We're paying you for that, but for some reason we're not getting any more inquiries. Now either we're getting the wrong sort of hits, or we're not getting the hits at all. But I want to know why we're paying you extra when we're not gaining anything. Now I'm happy to talk about it and go through it and talk about the pros and cons. Maybe we need to do some fine tuning. But you're supposedly going and getting more of the same type of people who would talk to us anyway, but there's nothing. We're not getting more business. So I'd like an independent audit on your numbers. No, you're not having an independent audit. And again, they're quite defensive. And well, if you don't like it, then why did you sign the contract? And it went back and forth like that. It wasn't really very pleasant. And I approached them with an open mind, saying, well, maybe their counting is wrong. Maybe there's something in there that we can correct and again fine tune. But obviously they had other people complaining, and my sort of take on it is that they decided to run a scam to make more money, and they just ran a machine, if you like, AI or whatever, to say that look, your counts of hits went from 100 to 130, and I wanted that verified. So in order to verify that, we've got to get a third party. They refused, and if we brought in a third party anyway, then they said it's the end of doing business with them. So I'm half a mind to get an independent verification, and then maybe drop a lawsuit on them or something like that. I mean, all of it would happen there. I don't think they'd learn their lesson. I think they just give me some money and then run away again. So I don't think they would achieve anything. So, but my take is they've decided, look, we can create reality. We can say to these guys that we're getting more hits on their website or doing this or doing that. We can say that. They've got no independent means of verification, so we can create that reality, and we can just tell them this is the reality, and they have to accept it. It's not that much more money. They won't notice. They won't ask any questions. So they didn't figure on Billy Bob here would actually look at it. And again, it wasn't like it was a lot of money. It was a few $100s. It wasn't like it was the end of the world or anything. But I was saying, well, we're spending that way. Are we getting anything? I'm quite mindful of these sorts of things. Now, we look at artificial hits on stories that the media is pushing. We look at deboosting. We look at shadow banning. We look at all these things happening in background. And And I'm sort of thinking, well, this is the simulation. Getting the truth, finding the facts is impossible. If the globalists and the Democrats together make an assault on democracy, for example, neutralizing the effect of the vote of the people, at that exact same time, they will be running a campaign to accuse everyone else of doing it. So they blow so much smoke in the room that the average person who just can't deal with these contradictions just doesn't know and just tunes out, which is, again, a globalist objective. So I don't think it's like the Matrix where people are all, hundreds of billions of people are going to be stuck in little, water pods or something like that. I guess it's possible at some point in the future. I think it's more a case of the reality will be created for us. Every piece of information we see, everything we hear, everything we consume is built around the narrative and having control of people's minds and their thoughts. And if you control what they see and what they hear and what they read and so on, then you can control to a large extent what they think. Now, you'll always get the odd one or two that will be able to work it out, but it won't be very many. And you can put them in prison or kill them off. This is what the Soviet communists and Chinese communists did. If they figured somebody wasn't accepting the narrative or wasn't gullible enough to have that narrative imposed on them, they would send them off to re-education camps, hard labor camps, prison forever, or they'd kill them. And they prepared and did kill millions in the process in order to cleanse society of people who were capable of independent thought. And the communists, the Soviet communists, when they were going to Eastern Europe, would try and flush people out by having town hall meetings. It's your country, it's your democracy, you have a right to your representatives. So let's have a town hall meeting and talk about what we need to do. And then the secret police would be there, and anyone that got up and sounded persuasive or sounded like they had a coherent grasp of the issues, the secret police would just take their name, and then they'd be whisked off and murdered out back, or sent off to some faraway hard labor camp in the Arctic wastes of Siberia. So these are I think that's going to be the simulation, and technology will sort of build on that, so that maybe you will get things like chips are planted in your brain or in your neck or somewhere, and if you do have an unapproved thought, you'll get a little electric jolt, or that thought will be neutralized, where you'll say, oh no, what was I thinking there? Oh gee, the thought's gone. Oh well, hey, those sort of things. But thought control, information control, message control, narrative control, and forcing you to accept the lies and the deceit. I think that's the matrix, if you like, in the simulation. You've been Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.